There, I'm back. It's Lara here with your Witchy Wednesday video for the week of August 28th to September 3rd, 2019. So, first things first. Sorry, I haven't been here in a couple of weeks. My intention was to do a video for you for the full moon in Aquarius at very least, but that didn't happen. There was just too much going on, so I had to cut myself some slack. I did do a short Facebook post on that for you, though. So sometimes, it's a very rare occasion when I miss a video. In fact, I think the month of August was very irregular. Since I started doing these videos, I may have missed one along the way in the course of over a year. And but in August I missed a couple. It was just a crazy, crazy busy time, and just didn't have the chance. So thanks for your patience, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm back and back into a more regular routine, at least easing back into a more regular routine, which is exactly what Virgo season wants us to do. And that's what this video is going to be all about, because we're in the thick of Virgo season, and we are moving towards a new moon in Virgo that's happening on Friday the 30th. So that's what the majority of this video is going to speak to. And then I'm going to, at the end of the video, as per usual, we'll go into each of the 12 zodiac signs and speak to where this new moon is happening for each of us. So I was doing two-part videos there for a time, and depending on how long I blather on about Virgo, this may be a two-parter as well. I'm going to try to keep it to one. I'm easing back into things here and still have a lot of stuff going on. Kids are gearing up to go back to school and that sort of thing. So, you know how that is, right? Um, so all the usual stuff. You can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram, and I will, as I started to say, if I ever miss a video, I do generally post there at least a little tidbit of something. So the links to that are below. But even over the course of the last week and a half or so, I was at camp, cottage, whatever you want to call it, and we had all kinds of people there, and it was a family gathering. And so I kind of was offline for, you know, more than a week. I barely touched my phone. I was kind of in the moment, and didn't have much opportunity or frankly desire to do that. So I didn't. But I did touch base on Facebook and Instagram once or twice. Anyway, also, if you're looking to get a reading with me, I'm back into that routine as well, and so you can check out the link to my website is below as well. You can connect with me there. Still have some changes in the works. Everything seems to be taking longer than anticipated, but Virgo season, right? So we're getting nose to the grindstone here and going to get the practical stuff done. Leo season went out with a bang, right? It did for me personally. It did on the world stage. We saw right around the time of that full moon in Aquarius. Aquarius is Leo's opposite sign, right? Ruled by the planet Uranus, planet of shock and awe and sudden happenings and changes. And Uranus is in Taurus, sign of an earth sign, a fixed earth sign. And during the fire sign of Leo season, we saw the fire in the Amazon, and I have like goosebumps. I didn't even know that was happening because that's when I was offline. And then it was actually my son on the way home from camp who told me about it, and anyway, shock. And Virgo season is here. One of the things it's asking us to do is pay more attention to Mother Earth and to be in service to her and care for her. And I'm going to get into that. But, Leo season was full out. I said on Facebook, it was kind of lawless around here. A little bit overindulgent in a number of ways. And now it's time to get back into the rhythm. And that's what Virgo's telling us. So we have this new moon in Virgo happening on Friday, August 30th at 6:37 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So adjust accordingly. And leading up to that, we have other planets in Virgo, right? We've got the sun, which is always implicated in a new moon. The sun, we've got Venus, Mars, Mercury is entering Virgo today, Wednesday, the 28th as well. And then we'll have the moon there for a short time beginning Thursday. And she will be there until early Saturday morning, and we'll have the new moon on Friday. We also have asteroid Juno in Virgo as well. Juno is just briefly the partnership asteroid, right? We have 9 planets in Earth signs. I'm going to show you the chart in a minute so you can see this pile up of energy in Virgo and the other things I'm talking about here. But we have 9 planets in Earth signs right now, so heavy emphasis on Earth energy, right? And that's the energy of the practical, obviously the energy connected to our planet, to the material world, right? To nature, to physicality, our physical bodies, to this, the world of the 5 senses in general. And we also have 7 planets in mutable signs, right? Virgo is a mutable earth sign. We have 7 planets in mutable signs. And the mutable energy, the mutable signs are the signs that transition the seasons, right? So Virgo is like that transition between summer and fall. And in the northern hemisphere, and then the opposite in the southern hemisphere, right? But it's a transitional sign. It's a sign that is adaptable, changeable. And very specifically, when we're talking about mutable earth energy, the sign of Virgo, this is about deep connection with the rhythms, right? Mutable, of nature, of earth. So mutable earth. That is really the way to think about Virgo energy. So let's talk about Virgo, because that's what this video is all about. Virgo is an often misunderstood sign, misunderstood energy. And that's largely because of the shadow side of Virgo, right? Every energy has a yin and a yang, or a light and a shadow side. And the shadow side of Virgo is criticism, is perfectionism, is neuroses, anxiety, is obsession with, getting it right and getting it perfect. Obsession with our health, perhaps like obsessively, focused on exercise, diet regimens, these kinds of things. Also, being kind of withdrawn is Virgo's shadow side, right? Like being so kind of focused that it withdraws from the outside world. And a bit kind of to use a slang term, like a bit tight-assed. Virgo's really known in some ways for being a bit tight-assed, and that's not what Virgo is. That's really, really not what Virgo energy is about optimally. Sure, if we are living sort of in the shallow end of Virgo, right? And if we are, like, the reason that Virgo gets super critical, there's a couple reasons, but is because there's this, on the shadow side, need to feel in control. And when Virgo feels kind of out of control, like things are not as they should be, then It can start nitpicking and getting critical and pinpointing all of, what's wrong kind of thing. But that is never from a place of ill intent, right? Virgo wants to fix things, wants to make things better for everybody. And it notices all the little details. And it notices that, a little tweak here or a little fix there could make things better. Better for you, better for me, better for everyone. And so that's where Virgo gets that reputation. But again, it's never from a place of ill intent. And optimally, at its best, Virgo is the archetype of the priestess or the priest. And I don't mean that in a religious sense. Virgo is all about sacred service, ritual, this kind of thing. Virgo is here to do sacred work in the world, right? To be of service, to make things better for everyone, to make things work more efficiently, to ultimately help us to connect to the rhythms of nature and to work with those and to harness them and to use them efficiently rather than to fight or resist them, right? Virgo is the archetype of the medicine woman, of the shaman, of the witch who knows how to use the kind of inherent magic of the earth and to really be deeply rooted and grounded and connected to nature and to Mother Earth. Virgo is a really complicated energy, but if we think of it in its most basic sense, it's really ultimately, like I said, about working with nature, about knowing that everything is perfect just as it is. If we allow it to unfold naturally, if we work with the natural rhythms again. So the symbol of Virgo is a woman separating the wheat from the chaff, right? Virgo happens at harvest season. And this gives us a major clue as to what Virgo energy is about, it, the essence of Virgo. During harvest season in the Northern Hemisphere is when our ancestors, the harvest had been reaped, right? So everything had been, the crops had been harvested, and then came the time to take stock, right? A Virgo thing, taking stock. Okay, well, this is what we've gathered. This is what we've reaped from the harvest, and now what do we do with that, right? It's this work of efficiency of separating. Okay, this is what's useful here, this is what's useful there, this is what should be discarded. This, it's that meticulous work of canning, of preserving, of drying, of the preparation of the medicines and the tinctures and all of that will sustain people throughout the winter. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's that transition between winter and spring where it's about the spring cleaning, the purifying, the clarifying, the sweeping out the cobwebs, getting organized, getting rid of the stale air, right? That sort of thing, refreshing. And so, but it's, you can see it's the same kind of energy regardless. So, Virgo is about dedication and devotion and working tirelessly and meticulously on the daily tasks until the job is done. Virgo is at home in the 6th house. That's the house that is associated with the daily grind, right? With routines, with how we are in service. And if you think about Virgo energy, it's all about that, step by step, the daily tasks that are our sacred work. And when I say sacred work, we all have sacred work to do in this world, and that can be paid or unpaid. It's not associated with compensation necessarily. It's about knowing what needs to be done and heeding that call and doing that kind of ritualistically and in service to the sacred calling, like to the rhythms of nature, being in service to what's best for everyone, to what's best for the earth, to what the earth is calling us to do. And Virgo needs a purpose. Virgo without a purpose can be very anxious and nervous and scattered and critical. You know, it can bring out the shadow side of Virgo because Virgo really needs a purpose. It's a fixer, right? Like I said, the one who notices all the little imperfections and how we could make things more efficient and better. Um, and that's never out of ill intent. So I want to show you the chart right now. I'm going to unplug. I've been charging as I'm recording, and that's not really good for the phone. So I'm going to unplug that, and I'm going to show you the chart. Here we have it. Last time I did a video, I didn't have a chart to show you because I was at the lake. But here we have the chart. Okay, so let's just start here. Look at this pileup of energy in Virgo. Venus, Mars, the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury. And that other symbol here, for those of you who are wondering, that's just showing the ascendant. Without getting too technical and complicated, this chart is drawn up using the natural zodiac. So with Aries on the first house cusp, because Aries is at home in the first house. So that's why, you know, normally this would be the ascendant, but Virgo is the ascendant in this chart. So that's why that symbol is there. But and then also I didn't show on here the asteroids because I didn't want to clutter things up too much. But asteroid Juno is also there, as I mentioned. So you can see all this energy, right? And the actual new moon is happening in and about the 6th degree of Virgo, between 6 and 7 degrees. And so if you have planets, points, you know, a cluster of planets, this is called a stellium when we have a cluster of planets in one sign. You know, if you have that in your chart in Virgo, you are definitely going to be feeling this energy strongly. I'll just move this aside for a second. I'm a Virgo rising and my ascendant is between 5 and 6 degrees. So I'm getting hit big time by this. I'll let you know how that plays out, but I'm really feeling, you know, the urge to purge, the urge to get back into the rhythms, to routine, and a real serious calling to connect with the rhythms of nature. That's my nature to begin with. And I feel like that's been a little out of balance for me the last few months. And I'm really being called to get back into that rhythm. And so that's one of the things, you know, where I'm putting my attention at this time. So let's look at the chart again. I want to also show you, there's Uranus and Taurus, right? And this is significant because Uranus and Taurus is at 6 degrees, making an exact trine to this new moon. I'm going to speak to that in a second. You know, we also have, so some more earth energy, right? Virgo, earth energy, mutable earth, all this, you know, the Capricorn brigade up here. Capricorn's an earth sign, right? Taurus is an earth sign. So all that energy in earth going on. And so essentially, really, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to keep it simple. Really, what I want to draw your attention to is all the energy in Virgo. And then opposite the sky is Pisces, where we have Neptune in Pisces, right? So the opposite sign is always to be considered when we're talking about any new or full moon. So ultimately, you know, while I'm on the subject of the opposite sign of Pisces, one of the things I want to mention to you is that if you are feeling really like you've taken the Virgo thing too far, you know, you're on the verge of burnout because you've been burning the candle at both ends, to get the work done, and it's just like, you know, you head down and go and you're not taking a breath. Pisces is there to remind you everybody needs a break sometimes. Take a step back, you know, even just for a few hours, and rest, relax, escape, you know, in healthy ways. Dream a little, these kinds of things, right? And there is our next moon is going to be a full moon in Pisces around the 14th. And so I'll speak to that in a future video when we get there. But that is to remind us too, okay, sometimes it's time to kind of take a step back and to rest a bit. So a little bit more on that, new moon being closely connected to Venus, Mars, and Mercury here. So in short, we've got the drive, the ambition, the will of Mars behind us, right? But sometimes Mars on its shadow side can be a little too aggressive, a little impulsive, these kinds of things. So the good news is that we have Venus there who is tempering that energy, right? Venus and Mars have just had an exact conjunction, an exact meetup, and they are still right there in partnership with the new moon. Venus is asking us to bring love, right? To bring and beauty, aesthetic, and connection to the world of the five senses into the equation, right? And to value what we do, that sacred service, that sacred work. And Venus there may increase our focus on our resources, on money, on material possessions, on what we value, on beautifying our space even, and on our finances as well. It's a good time to do that. Of course, it sort of depends on where this is falling in your chart, and we're going to get to that in a couple of minutes. And the fact that Mars and Venus are closely connected to each other and to this new moon, it really hints at the fact that partnership can be a focus at this time, right? And because it's a new moons in general are times of new beginnings, setting new intentions. So this can be a new partnership or a refresher, a renewal of an existing partnership. And when I say partnership, that can have to do with a partnership with a significant other, a business partnership, close friend, any kind of close relationship sort of thing. Also partnership with yourself. So all of that is going on. And then we have Mercury, the ruler of Virgo. Mercury loves being in Virgo, bringing ease and communication, right? So this bodes well. The other key piece of the puzzle I showed you on the chart is Uranus, right? Uranus in Taurus in an exact trine to this new moon. So this is a powerful conversation that's happening at the time of the new moon. Uranus brings excitement, unexpected change, aha moments, upheaval sometimes, insights, flashes of genius, liberation. Uranus wants to, rattle our cages a bit, to shake things up, to especially where things are stagnant. And so with Uranus in this kind of positive conversation with the new moon, this suggests that we may have some positive changes, perhaps positive new routines and rituals and, insights into what our sacred work really is. A trine is a helpful aspect, but we have to work with it consciously for it to be, for us to get the most out of it. And so notice any synchronicities, any sudden changes, surprises, things that are calling for your attention, unexpected things that are happening around this time, unexpected opportunities, and harness those, right? Use them to your advantage and do the practical work of Virgo. If those opportunities arise, to make something realistic, happen, and to manifest something in the material realm for yourself. And, that is ultimately in service, to the whole. Because if we don't do the work and we're not consciously working with this energy, we may find ourselves kind of swept up and moving down a path that we don't necessarily want to be on, right? So with all this energy happening in the earth signs, and with Uranus being a factor on a more global scale, we may see more news about things happening in our world in relation to the planet and to Mother Earth. And we're being called to take care, and to take care of Mother Earth in a way that Virgo would, right? It's all of our sacred work to care for our planet, where we all live. It's what sustains us. We wouldn't be here without it. And in some sort of warped human way, many of us don't understand that, and we are destroying that which sustains us, right? Our very life force, we're destroying it, willingly and knowingly in many cases. So it's a bit of a wake-up call on that level, this Uranus trining all this Virgo energy, and all this emphasis on Earth. It's a bit of a wake-up call for all of us to really get grounded, to be very, very Virgoan about caring for our planet. And one last thing I want to say before I start going through the signs is that Virgo is more about caring from a bit of a detached perspective. It knows what needs to be done, and so it just does the work without getting too emotionally attached, right? Or like Pisces, the opposite sign of Virgo, it does it has the compassion and the empathy, and it really gets emotional and absorbs. It's the feeler of all the feels. Whereas Virgo cares very deeply, but it doesn't get, it's not about the drama. It's not about the, it doesn't optimally allow itself to get taken down by the emotion of it all. So that's kind of an approach that we are being asked to take right now, right? And then I said that was the last thing, but it wasn't. This is the last thing before I get into the 12 signs. During Leo season, just to kind of bring it full circle, we had access to the creative inspiration. Leo's very heart-centered, and it's like what brings us joy, right? And so now what we're being asked is to take what we may have learned and considered and experienced during Leo season and bring that down to earth, and now take the practical steps, right? To do the real world work. So that's the last thing I'm going to say. And now I'm going to launch into the 12 signs. And I think I'm going to try to keep it to this one video, folks. So I hope that's okay with you for today. I'm going to launch into the 12 signs. I'm going to speak to where this new moon in Virgo and all this Virgo energy is drawing your attention, right? Something new, it's a new moon, wants to happen here in whatever area of the chart, whatever house this new moon is happening for you. This is about where you're being called to do sacred work in this area of your chart, to be the, the Virgo, and do the practical steps, routine, ritual to connect with the rhythms of nature. Okay, so we're going to start with Virgo, of course, because Virgo, this is your new moon. It is a powerful, powerful time for you, for Virgo rising, Virgo sun, Virgo moon, or if you have a lot of Virgo energy, right? Or energy that's around that 6-degree mark of the mutable signs, right? Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius. And the earth signs are feeling this big time as well. So, right, earth signs being obviously Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. So Virgo, this is your new moon. The new moon is falling in your first house, the house of the self, of your instinctual approach to the world, of your physical vitality, your body, your health, your physical kind of makeup, and really about how you go at the world and how the world perceives you. So this is a time of renewal and rebirth for you, Virgo. In that sense, it may be a complete kind of turnover, right? A complete shift and a complete change in how you approach the world. A real getting back to your true nature of that instinctual ability to be highly, highly in tune with nature's rhythms, right? And to be very grounded and practical. It's a great time, for example, just on a very simple level, if you feeling like Leo season kind of threw you off in a sense that you're maybe not feeling as well as you could, right? As like you don't have the vitality that you'd like to. It's a good time to go at that with a real practical, sensible approach to start some kind of new routine around your health and wellness. Not to the point of obsession, though, right? It's listen to your body, listen to nature, connect with the natural rhythms. So I'm going to leave it there for you, Virgo. I said a lot about Virgo in the intro, so I really, really hope that you listen to that before just jumping to your sign here. And I'm going to move on to Leo. Leo, we've got the new moon in Virgo happening in your second house of your resources, your personal resources, your material possessions, your values, your self-worth, your finances, this kind of thing. And so this is a renewal of that area for you. And this is about getting your ducks in a row, right? As far as those things go, about doing the sacred work in terms of all of those things, taking a practical step-by-step approach to perhaps, getting your finances in order, for example, getting new systems in place, making things more efficient in terms of your finances, your material possessions, your resources. You're really taking stock of your values and you know how they're serving you and how they are serving the greater good, really. um this is about valuing, like this is about your sense of self-worth and really considering that on a very practical level, and doing things that can help you feel um, better about yourself and kind of more more valued, um, and doing those things on a practical level. So maybe, for example, increasing your rates, right? And you have to go through the steps of like maybe changing things on your website or your rate card or whatever. And so that's just one example. So I will leave that there for you, Leo, and I'm going to move on to Cancer now, where we have the new moon in Virgo happening in your third house of communications of you and your immediate environment. And so, Cancer, this is about maybe communications have been a bit willy-nilly over late, and the way you're communicating, maybe you've got a lot of emails to weed through, that sort of thing, on a very practical level. And so now Virgo is saying, okay, maybe you need to do this step by step, one email at a time, go through things and clear out your inbox. Maybe you need a more efficient system for gathering messages. Maybe like it's a time of real maybe practical communications and dealing with things on a very practical kind of ritualistic level in terms of your daily communications, in terms of your immediate environment and the people that you connect with on the day to day, right? Siblings, cousins, neighbors, your peers, this kind of thing. It can be about a new beginning in regards to communications as well, in regards to your daily environment, your immediate environment. It can be putting some kind of routine in place as far as your communications go. So like, every day, rather than looking at my email 42 times at random times throughout the day, I am going to take between 9 and 10 a.m. every day to deal with that, right? So like a more routine kind of system, and to look at the efficiencies and all of that kind of thing in terms of those third house areas. So I'm going to leave that for you, Cancer, and move on to Gemini now, where we've got the new moon in Virgo happening in your fourth house of your roots, of your ancestry, of your home, of your family, place of living, connection to, um, the mother, the family of origin, your tribe, that kind of thing. And so Gemini, a new beginning is on offer here, right? And it's about being very practical in this area and pragmatic, and um, you know, it's about sacred work in relation to this fourth house. And so maybe it's time to literally clear out your space, your physical space, your place of living. And there is some purging and cleaning and organizing and that kind of thing that needs to happen there. And so, it's about doing things differently. It's about in this area, because it's a new moon, so doing things in a new way, or refreshing things perhaps, right, on the home front, um, in a very Virgo sense, which I spoke about all in the beginning. So you can refer to that intro for further details. But I'm going to leave that there. Gemini, I don't want to run out of time on the video here. So I'm going to move on to Taurus now. Taurus, you've got the new moon happening in your fifth house of your children that you're associated with, your creative self-expression, what sparks joy for you. So this Virgo new moon is saying you have an opportunity to begin something new, to set some new intentions in regards to these things, and to do the practical work of manifesting something material, right? Taking care of business. Really perhaps, putting your nose to the grindstone in terms of a creative project, or really taking care of things in relation to children, children that you work with. Like I'm thinking, if you're a teacher, I know you're prepping right now for back to school. And so, that would be related to the fifth house of children, and doing something practical, getting your classroom ready, your lesson plans, all of that kind of thing, right? So, for example, that's just a short tidbit for you, Taurus, but that's where this new moon is centered. And I'm going to move on to Aries now. And this new moon is happening in your sixth house, Aries, where you have the sixth house is the house of Virgo, right? It's the house of our daily grind, our daily rituals and routines around our wellness and our self-improvement. It's how we are in service, right? Sacred service. And that's paid or unpaid. And so, Aries, it's time for you to focus quite literally on your daily rituals, practices, routines, all of that kind of thing. And perhaps try something new here, or bring more Virgo energy into that area of your chart, right? To be very kind of grounded and routine and practical and ritualistic about those things. And I think that's enough said for you, Aries. Please listen to the intro for all the juicy bits. And I'm going to move on to Pisces now, where we've got the new moon happening in the seventh house of one-to-one relationships, right? Opposite the sky from you, Pisces, is the sun and the moon coming together in Virgo, right? Opposite your sign. And so this is a focus on partnership for you, on being perhaps more practical than Pisces tends to be in regards to how we approach one-to-one relationships, right? To doing the practical work to show other people that we we care, kind of thing, to taking care of practical details in relationship, getting on the same page as your partner in terms of, your finances, your daily routines, you name it, kind of thing. About maybe bringing some kind of sacred practice or ritual to your relationships. So, setting a date night that's non-negotiable with you and your partner, perhaps, a weekly kind of a night, and bringing that kind of Virgo kind of scheduling, right, to your relationship. So I'm going to leave that there for you, Pisces, and move on to Aquarius, where we've got the new moon happening in your 8th house, which is the house of other people's resources. It's the house of transformation, the house of our deep psyche and the things that we don't necessarily want other people to know. It's the house that we're vulnerable in. It's a house of our intimate relationships and connections. And so Aquarius, the new moon is in Virgo is saying, let's look at these things from a practical, earth-based, place, and perhaps bring some routine, some ritual, do some sacred work in this area of life, and really, maybe kind of a regular practice of working with some kind of deep psychological healing. It is something you might consider now, Aquarius, or a sit down with somebody that you share resources with, and getting your ducks in a row as far as that goes. So I'll leave that there for you, Aquarius, and move on to Capricorn, where we have the new moon happening in your 9th house. And that's the house of travel, of your philosophy and belief system, and your connection to foreign cultures, and teaching and learning as well fall into the 9th house, Capricorn. So Virgo, the new moon in Virgo there is saying, bring this Virgo energy to the 9th house of your chart and set some new intentions, begin anew in some way in this area. So maybe a program of study, literally, you're embarking on, and you're going to have to do the step-by-step, right? And take care of all the details. Or maybe some kind of travel planning, right? And you have to do the step-by-step planning for some kind of big trip that you're planning on taking. So come at that from a very Virgo approach. So I'll leave that there, Capricorn. Please listen to the intro for the details, right? And moving on to Sagittarius, where we've got the new moon happening in your 10th house, Sag, of your public reputation, your worldly ambitions, the legacy you wish to leave, your career, your relationship to authority. And so Sagittarius, there's a new beginning on offer here, and Virgo is asking you, the new moon is asking you to be practical about it, to pay attention to the details, to take it step by step, to do the practical work, to bring some ritual to it, some routine, right, to this area of your chart. That perhaps whatever you're doing as a legacy you wish to leave, out in the world, needs to be more closely connected to what feels like sacred work for you, right? So, Sag, enough said there. Please listen to the introduction for the details, and I'm going to move on to Scorpio. Scorpio, new moon in Virgo happening in your 11th house of friendships, groups, associations, clubs, the people who are walking the same path as you, your tribe, your hopes and dreams for the future. And so, Scorpio, there's something new on offer for you here, but you need to take a practical Virgo approach to manifest something in this area of your chart, right? Take care of the details, bring some ritual to it. Look at this as sacred service, whatever's going on in the 11th house for you right now, Scorpio. And really, there may be some kind of new partnership, new friendship, new association on offer for you over the time of this new moon as well. So I'm going to leave that there for you, Scorpio. Listen to the intro, please, for all the juicy bits. And last but not least, we've got Libra. Libra, the new moon is happening in your 12th house, new moon in Virgo. So this suggests to me, Libra, that perhaps you are being asked to bring some kind of ritual, routine, regular practice to your spiritual life, to looking at maybe how you are self-sabotaging, to some unhealthy escape practices, and how you can tackle those in a very practical Virgo step-by-step way. And this is the house of the unseen, of what we do behind closed doors, of how we rest and reflect and relax. And this Virgo new moon is saying, Libra, follow the natural rhythms, connect with nature, and that will allow you to really recharge and refresh in a way that feels right and natural, if that makes sense to you, Libra. So I'm going to leave that there. That was a lot said in a short amount of time. I'm happy to be back. I hope this was helpful to you, and I may get back into doing the two-parters, as we move into September. So take good care, and I'll see you next week, okay? Bye-bye.